The views and opinions expressed on all radio shows broadcast on TOMz Radio Toronto are entirely those of the hosts, guests, and callers who are entirely responsible for all show content and do not in any way reflect the opinions of TOMz Radio Toronto or its staff. These broadcasts are presented and made public as entertainment and general information only, in the hope that they will be entertaining and informative to listeners. They are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or mitigate in any way any disease or condition or to promote any specific lifestyle, belief, religion, political affiliation, or other personal practice, nor is the information presented necessarily accurate or verifiable.
Karibuni tena katika kipindi chetu cha African Talks. Niko na mgeni wetu Bori Jahazi na leo tunaendeleza mada yetu ya globalization au utandawazi. Hii ni radio ya TOMz Radio, Toronto Multiculturalism Radio iliyoko Toronto 3768 Bathurst Street. Tunaomba wasikilizaji wetu mtufuatilie katika social media zetu, YouTube, Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram. Tafadhali usisahau kulike, kusubscribe and kushare. Tunaomba muendelee kushare social media zetu ili watu wengi waweze kutusikia na kufuatilia tunayoongea. Bori, karibu sana. Habari za toka wiki iliyopita?
Asante sana. Habari yangu nzuri. Tunaendelea tu kusukuma gurudumu la maisha kwenye nchi yetu hii.
Ndio. Wiki iliyopita tumeongea kuhusu globalization au utandawazi wa nchi za Afrika na nikakuuliza maswali. Je, unafikiri nchi za Afrika bado zinaweza kwenda na kasi tunayoenda nayo nchi za magharibi? Ukatoa maelezo mazuri sana. Leo nataka nikurudishe tena kule tulikoanzia, niulize. Unafikiri kwamba utandawazi au globalization haujatupa manufaa nchi za Afrika?
Hapana, imetupa manufaa mengi sana, at least on a learning part. Kwa sasa hivi kuna vitu vingi sana ambavyo tunaona nchi nyingine ambazo zinafuata globalization na zimefanikiwa kuhusu globalization. Tunaweza kuona mifano yao, walifanya nini na wamefanya nini, na tunaweza tukafuata, tukajiarrange wenyewe, tukafuata, nayo ikatusaidia. Isipokuwa kama nilivyosema, sisi tupo nyuma sana. Tunatakiwa reinvent ourselves kama Waafrika ili tuweze kucompete properly.
Unafikiri kwamba na faida moja hapo ni kwamba tumeweza kujua ni namna gani hizi nchi za magharibi zinavyotumia uhuru au zinavyotumia vitu mbalimbali kama governments, how they govern themselves, how their people enjoy the freedom, and not only that, lakini pia tumeona namna gani haki za binadamu zinafanyika katika nchi hizi za magharibi. Sasa tuambie kidogo, hizi faida sisi kama nchi za Afrika tunaweza kuzitumia vipi?
Kama nilivyosema last time, bahati mbaya sisi tuliuziwa gunia la chawa.
Ndio.
Kwa jinsi system yetu ambavyo imewekwa. Kuna vitu vingi sana ambavyo tulivyokuwa colonized au tulivyokuwa slaved, zimetuharibia either mawazo, fikira, pamoja na siasa zetu nyumbani, pamoja na mifumo yetu ya siasa, pamoja na kugawanywa. Kuna vitu vingi sana ambavyo tumeletewa, tukapachikwa na tukalazimishwa, na bado kuna vingine ambavyo tunalazimishwa kufanya ambavyo not necessarily benefit us. Some does benefit us, some simamisha sisi tusiweze kumove forward na kubenefit kutu benefit sisi as Africans in general.
Na kubaliana na wewe kwamba yako mambo ya msingi ambayo yanafanyika katika swala la utandawazi yanatuzuia sisi kama Waafrika tushindwe kusonga mbele au kuendana na ile kasi ya watu wa magharibi. Na mojawapo labda niseme kwamba ni mfumo au infrastructure system, kwa sababu ukizungumzia kwa issue ya kwamba African globalization inataka kuweka dunia kuwa na mfumo mmoja wa biashara, lakini infrastructure tulizonazo katika nchi za Afrika hatuwezi kuendana na mifumo ya watu wa magharibi. Je, unafikiri ni kwa nini wa Afrika bado tuko nyuma katika kimfumo mbalimbali? Labda utuelezee namna ambavyo unaiona wewe na background ya nchi za Kiafrika, hasa tulipotoka katika ukoloni na kuwa katika foundation ya misingi ya dini za Kikristo na Kiislamu ambazo pia zimetugharimu sana kujenga mwendelezo wa uchumi wetu na miundombinu yetu.
Kuna kitu kinazungumzwa sana sasa, lakini sisi wa Afrika tunalalamika. Kuna kitu watu wanasema, watu weusi tuna slave mentality, wanasema tuna colonial mentality, ndio inaosababisha kuturudisha nyuma. Kuna matatizo mengi, lakini nadhani wa Afrika haswa kwenye swala la kuna vitu tumepewa. Tumeletewa dini, tumeletewa political systems za kutu direct sisi, alafu pia wamejaribu kwa kila mbinu kuvunja utamaduni wetu ambao tulikuwa nao zamani.
Turudi nyuma tu. Umeongea vitu vya msingi sana kwamba ukoloni ulivunja tamaduni zetu. Ukoloni ulivunja namna gani tulivyokuwa tukijiinua wenyewe. Nakumbuka ilikuwa ni safari ndefu kutokana na vitabu vya historia. Sasa athari za ukoloni kuharibu tamaduni zetu zinatuathiri vipi sisi leo?
Kwa nini waliharibu utamaduni zetu? Waliharibu tamaduni zetu kwa sababu wametufanya sisi tufuate tamaduni zao ambazo zitatufanya sisi to fall in line katika a system. I think maybe a very good idea, maybe the intention was good, lakini somehow the results ya hii the entire system imetengeneza classes. Kuna western civilization which is supposed to be superior, alafu wakafuata wenzetu wa Asia, alafu sisi Africa we seems to be lagging. There's something ambacho kipo very clear kwangu mimi binafsi. Ukiangalia nchi ambazo zina compete na western world sasa hivi, kwa mfano China au let's say India to some sense, utakuta wao bado wana tamaduni zao zile zile ambazo walikuwa nazo, bado wana dini yao ile ile ambayo walikuwa nayo. Now I'm not going to try to dispute kwenye swala la religion. Mimi binafsi, let me say mimi binafsi ni Muislamu. Dini yangu ni Islamu na I don't have any doubt kwenye swala la dini kwenye Uislamu wangu. Na most of the time ukienda kwenye Wakristo, now they have exactly the same. Lakini there's something amiss. Sisi wenyewe binadamu kuna so much distractions ambazo are not even necessarily the teachings ya dini zetu wenyewe. Labda ni kujaribu kufumua kutoa uwazi. Nataka kusema mimi kama Mwafrika Muislamu ambaye nimekuwa diaspora kwenye nchi hizi, specifically Canada, for about 27 years, na vision yangu. Nachojaribu kuzungumza mimi binafsi ni perception yangu ambayo nimeiona kutokana na my life experience. Kama tunavyojua, perception is always based on your upbringing, your culture, your experience, what you have seen in life. That's what creates a perception.
That means perception is an individual opinion. It's not a collective
opinion.
Kwa hiyo unachokiongea hapa unataka kutuambia kwamba ni namna wewe unavyoyaona mambo na wewe unavyoyachukulia mambo. Na kwa sababu hiyo sasa unataka kushare na Watanzania na Waafrika namna gani unaona mambo yanakwenda. Kwa hiyo that is individual.
Yes.
Na watu wasifikiri unachokiongea wewe is a collective perception.
Yes.
No, that is what you think
as an individual.
Nimekuelewa.
Someone that I'm able to see the Western civilization, how is managed, how is monitored. I'm also able to see African civilization and whatever happened in Africa, and do the comparison, what is happening there and what is happening here, and I can see the missing gaps and what I think went wrong to our countries. So, for example, of globalization, I know that in Africa we will not be able to get anywhere without proper infrastructure, not in our countries. I'm talking about in Africa in general. I think I touched something called Africanization last time. I will call it Africanization because it needs some term, right? But we have to work as a unity. But before we go to work as a unity, we have to first remove all the distractions that are facing us. Tuna distraction nyingi ambazo sisi tuna face. Na the only way to clean that distraction, most of Africans are either Christians or Muslims, and some portions that are Jews, right? We can go back and you can see most of these books are teaching almost exactly the same message, giving us exactly the same story. There's some difference here and there, but the chronological story of what happened is almost exactly the same, I think. So we can definitely able to know what our place on earth. Last time I think I mentioned that all human, we are all equal, right? There's nobody that is better, nobody is less, right? But the way this world is being moved around, right? We have certain classes, right? White people feel that they are superior, not all of them, but in a sense of a general public, a general world, right? They've managed to convince Africans and other people to look them above, right? A little bit than the way we are. But the world and the faith does not say anything like that. So if you try to understand this chronological, I think that's probably will be the best way to remove this something called slave mentality or colonial mentality. We need to come out of that and have a complete understanding that who we are, our position on earth, and we should not be dragged or looked down like the way it has been. Right? In generally, in Africa, in a race form. When we are talking about globalization or Africanization, right, there are so many things that hamper us as Africans. Right? First, our on inner self, majority of us have that inferior complex that we are not superior over certain people.
When you talk that we feel we are not superior over other people, what do you mean? That do you want to tell us that most Africans, we don't have confidence to come out and feel ourselves that we are equal with the Western people and we can do beyond what they're doing?
What they are doing. This is one, right? I'm not trying to say that we Africans are superior, but I'm not. What I'm saying is
that we are able to do what they are doing,
and equally. Although there is certain restrictions that we are having difficulty, we are behind, right? We are behind. They've divided us into pieces, right? So our economies are not as strong as we should be. We know that there's no Africans, there's no person in the world that will argue that majority of the resources in the world are in Africa, right? That African is a massive wealth in a way that if Africa today have a unity and negotiate our contract as one unit and have one currency and have one voice,
language.
Language is difficult because you get some people who speaking French, you get some people who
don't you
speaking
think that not having these common things in one place, like language, creating our own terms of communications, if we have one language, if we have one currency, this can bring change to African countries because they are going to unite together?
It's a very difficult thing. But we can use one. We can pick it, like for example, let's say Canada, right? We have English and French, right?
Yes.
And there's some people who don't speak English in Canada, and there's majority of people don't speak French in Canada, right? But they somehow manage to coexist, and they have one government or something. So the language is one thing, although it's divided us significantly to have a difficulty in communication, but we can adapt one. Even one of those that they give it to us, or two, right? That they give it to us to force us to learn. We can decide that in Africa we have two languages, French and English, right? But we will still be able to communicate among each other than the way we have been now, right? But what things that mostly concern me regarding Africa and in place of the place of Africa on a globalization and everything else is these constitutions.
When you talk about constitutions, what do you mean? Do you mean the individual countries' constitutions, or do you want us to have one constitution, which like African Union Constitution?
Yeah, that's what I think we should do. Kwa sababu most of these constitutions, they are addressing human rights, they are addressing the culture, they are addressing what the political system should be, they are addressing almost the way every country leads its people is based on this constitution that was handed to us. So these are the people who colonized us, okay? And they gave us this constitution and say, this is how you should run yourself.
So that means most of African countries, they are running their countries under the constitutions which have been created by the Western countries. Our colonies, of course.
Yes.
I understand Tanzania constitutions also is the one which has been created with our colon Britain. So we have a lot of similarities in our constitution. So do you want us to have our own constitution our own?
This is what I think we should do. Because when it comes to these human rights and all other things, I understand the reasons or an excuse or whatever the things happen then. We did not have it. Maybe we did not have enough knowledge to accumulate the proper constitution. Whatever the case happened, but it's clearly is a problem because if you really look at every single country, every single citizen in the country, if they are talking about arguments about anything, the argument is always about constitution, and I find it is a distraction to the real issues that facing the countries, right? So you will see one president, okay, is sitting down and doing a certain this and that and this and that, right? But you find opposition party, all they're doing is arguing about what he's doing, and they're using constitution to argue the things that actually this person doing benefit the nation, right? Culture-wise, right? What religions it should be, what the kids should be raised, who should go to school on what direction, what classes we should learn, what courses we should do. Every single thing.
You're right. When you talk about that, I just realized that, even our syllabuses back home, it's like they in a certain way that reflect the West, but then they are trying to avoid us to learn some issues, some very, very critical issues on our syllabuses.
Yes. So
before we go ahead, we have viewers watching us. So I'm giving shout to our viewers. Odell Mendoza, thank you for watching us live, and all the rest you're watching us live now. I say thank you. Let us continue listening to this space. Stay tuned. You can give us call straight to the studio. You can text us, and we can reply to your answers. We can get your question right, and let us interact. Thank you. Thank you for watching us. Let's go ahead.
Okay. So what I think is these constitutions that were given to us did not address the underlying fact of an African. Yes, perhaps at the time that we were given this constitution, maybe we were not ready to make our constitution. I understand that. But now we do. Do we really have to follow this? Why can't Africans with a brilliant mind put a constitution for Africans, and then Africans' country follow these constitutions that actually are more beneficial for the Africans than the way that it is right now?
So you want to tell us that when we want to think about Africanization, the first thing, we should go back to our constitutions.
Yes, because once we do that, then we will have to address the electricity for entire Africa, because that will be considered as a human right for Africans. We will discuss about water supply for the entire Africa, because it will address the entire African nation. We will talk about schools and education for the entire Africa, because it will address the African nations, African people. We will talk about educations for entire Africa, because it will address the entire Africa. It will talk about the natural resources for Africans, because that will be beneficial for entire Africa. It will address the infrastructure for the whole Africa, because that will benefit for the entire Africa. Right now, when we are dealing with our own little corners, each one of us, where there's so many countries, there's villages that don't have electricity, don't have water, don't have education, don't have school, we have to address this constitution for Africa and Africans. So in this way, when someone, like, it's funny, right? That you find the presidents of the country come and negotiate, right, the contracts on how to take the mining in your country, or selling a cow in the country, not with the president of the other country, but a businessman who just have a corporation in the Western world, just coming there, sitting in a table in a state house with the president, right? These type of things, right, it's just unacceptable. Right? I think because we don't have the economic power to argue.
When you say that we don't have an economic power to argue, what do you mean? Because this is what globalization has exposed us to. Globalization has exposed African resources to the Western countries. And this is why they are coming to our countries to negotiate the business, the deals. But you are telling the people in Africa, in Tanzania, that we don't have the power to negotiate deals with the Western
Listen
people.
at this. Tanzania are celebrating, very happy with Magufuli renegotiating the contract of
mining
contract with the Barrick Gold, right? From, I don't know, 0.1%, however that we were getting before,
yes,
to 16%.
I understand that.
It's a 16%.
Yes.
In our country, in our land, in our nation, is our gold.
That was a
it was a very good, jump.
That
right?
was a very powerful action to be done with an African president, that to call back that negotiation of the agreement and to review it afresh. Do you think other African presidents can call back all the agreements to be reviewed way you spoke last week?
No, it's not. If Africa as a unit, yes. As an individual, it's difficult. I understand that it was a big jump, and it was very bold for our president, our former president, Hayati, to renegotiate that. And we got much, much more than what we were getting before. But to me, as Tanzania, 16% is still not enough.
Yeah, the way you're saying, we only got 16%. But if we could have a collective agreement as Africans, whereby we negotiate as African countries together, we set up the way we can do the negotiations with our resources as African, one voice, we could have higher percentage.
If, let's say this way, if Africa, let's say Africa unite, right? We know the issue of nickel and graphite, right? We know that we need gold, right? We know that we need our cashew nuts. We know that we need our oil. In Africa, where is 1.4 billion people. If ourselves have enough infrastructure to need this stuff for ourselves, then the prices and all these negotiations are no longer necessary. And we can actually get a more market share of it, because we ourselves, so for example, let's say African Union. We have Africanization and we have African Union. That, let's say, we have an African bank that really need to collect a gold reserve in Africa, right? In an African bank, just like the way Federal Bank does, or Canadian bank does. And we need to collect ourselves. And let's say African bank buy this gold from Tanzania, from Congo, or from whatever the case is, at a certain price. What do you think will be the price of gold that will benefit the country?
Yeah, I agree. Okay? That's a very great point. The price of gold will go high because it is set up with a certain institution formulas. Yes.
Let's say Africa, we have enough infrastructures that we have roads that can go from Nigeria to Tanzania, right? We have roads that will go from Libya to South Africa. Whatever the case it is, that we have enough infrastructure to do that. What do you think will be the price of oil that Nigeria will be able to sell to other Western world where they need it when there is no enough oil? What will be the price for it?
So what you're trying to tell us, tell us openly that what do you want, what do you think on your own perspective that African countries can do? Do you mean that we have first to establish some key issues like financial institutions? We need to have a very strong financial institution in Africa as one African bank. We need to have infrastructures, roads, which can connect the whole of Africa. And what you're talking is what the Western countries have done.
Yes.
They first build their infrastructures before negotiating the trade deals.
Yes, this is exactly what they've done. We are behind, right? The best example that I can give, right, is kama vile mkulima wa korosho mwenye heka 5 za korosho anajaribu kuuza korosho zake, lakini jirani yake ana eka 500 za kuuza korosho. Huyu mwenye eka 5 atashindana vipi na huyu mwenye? Unakuta sasa nchi zenyewe jirani kama ambayo ilikuwa ni nchi moja kama Kenya, Tanzania. Okay? Angalia Tanzania, how much gold, how much tanzanite, how much this. Tumekaa sisi, tunabishana kabisa. Mount Kilimanjaro ipo wapi? It's embarrassing.
That's another problem.
It's embarrassing. Tunakaa tunabishana. Kwa mfano sasa mimi na gold yangu Tanzania. South Africa ana gold yake South Africa. Congo ana gold yake Congo. Huyu Mwingereza anayekuja anatafuta kununua gold. Anaenda Congo, anaambiwa bei hii, anakuja Tanzania anaambia mimi bwana Congo ameniambia kwa bei hii. Of course Tanzania anashusha chini. Anaenda South Africa anasema kuna mimi nanunua huko kwa bei. Of course South Africa anashusha chini. Whoever that had more, whoever that is thirsty, whoever that is more hungry, kwa baadaye sisi wenyewe kusaidiana to make it work for all of us, tunashindana wenyewe for the same things. We are competing the price for ourselves. Lakini angalia Waarabu na OPEC.
Yeah, that's a very big point you have just mentioned, kwamba among African countries, we are competing ourselves. And this is the problem whereby we cannot make a strong deals with the Western countries. Because the way you spoke about gold, and this is what is happening. Like, nitaongelea kuhusu korosho. Unajua mtu akienda Tanzania, anakuta korosho za Tanzania bei yake iko juu. Anatoka Tanzania, anaenda Ghana, wanamwambia Ghana watamuuzia korosho kwa bei rahisi. My people in Africa, why don't we create a single infrastructure of our market deals?
And that can only be resolved if we have Africa Constitution. If we have Africa Constitution, we will be able to address all of this.
I really think we need to talk about African Union in one of our shows, because I don't understand the meaning of having the African Union organization and what does it do. Why don't you create the single market? Why don't you create the single price for all our resources in Africa? Because Africa is one, and we have almost the same resources because we have a very rich land.
The purpose of African Union, it became African Union. I'm not sure, as I said, I was an individual. I'm not sure the reason for the changing of organization of African Union to African Union, why it happened and what so forth. However, the purpose for that union, the founder of it, the intention was to make Africa as one country, and all black people in the world to have an automatic citizenship. And I think the intention was also to have one currency, right? This will have addressed the infrastructure, will have addressed all the issues. But like, you tell me, okay, what is the reason of people traveling to India to do a heart surgery? Why can't we have an hospital in South Africa that everybody go to South Africa to do heart surgery?
I think we have one big hospital in Tanzania right now,
yes.
It has really helped a lot of people in Africa. We have this heart institution in Mwimbili, so it's doing very great. What you're saying is very right.
Yeah, but why can't we have
an African
big hospital? Why can't we have African big universities?
I think, stay tuned to our viewers. Bori, let's go for a short break and then we come back to our viewers. Please, people who are watching us, we are just going for a short break. Stay tuned. Don't leave your screen. This is a very serious topic for African countries.
So we are trying to run away from complaints and try to look for solutions. Break.
Karibu. Thank you to all our viewers. Thank you, Cecile, for listening. I know you commented that it's a good topic. Thank you so much. Thank you, Adele, for keeping tuned. You have not got out of your screen. And thank you to all our viewers who are live watching us today. We have our guest, Bori Jahazi. Bori Jahazi, tumekuwa tunaongelea masuala ya utandawazi. Na umeongea vitu vya msingi sana, japokuwa ni vingi, kwamba tunatakiwa kwanza tutengeneze mfumo wa Kiafrika. Ni lazima nchi za Afrika zifikiri kuungana kwa pamoja ili kuweza kufika tunapotaka kufika. Tumeeleza, we have addressed the issue of marketing, how deals are negotiated, how people can go to Tanzania and buy gold. I mean, investors go to Tanzania to negotiate up the deals about gold, but then when they go to Congo, just close to Tanzania, they are getting lower price. If we can make this price as the same throughout the continent, this people whom we call investors, they are going to respect us and they are going to buy our resources with the unique price which will create change to our life. Today, Africa as a continent, we don't see changes because we don't have proper infrastructures on how we do the marketing, how we sell our products, how we compete economically with the Western. Of course, that cannot be done today unless we become one Africa. We become one state. We become one continent. Bori, umetaka kuongea kitu kwamba ni nini kinatukwamisha kufika tunapotakiwa kufika, au nini kinatukwamisha kufanya kile ambacho tumekuwa tukiyazungumza hapa?
I think the way the humans we've been managed these days is with a flood of unnecessary information while hiding the underlying problems. We have a lot of information that hiding the underlying problems. What is really causing distractions? For example, I don't understand why everybody argue and fight so much about the human rights. And this is human right, and this is not human right, and this is what's wrong, and this was based on the constitution of the country.
Yeah, I asked you that question last time, that when we say human rights, if you go to Tanzania and speak about human rights, what do you mean? Are these human rights created, or were they designed for African countries or for Western countries? Because we have some differences.
So let's find out what is human right, right? To me, by definition, a human right, as a human, as me, what is my right as a human, me as an individual? And what creates that right or not right is my perception, based on my culture, my environment, my faith, and my belief, and all that thing. But all of these things are practically distraction. You cannot accumulate, right, a British human right and compare that with Tanzanian human right, right? British human right wants to have a freedom of expression and talk with the government and go out and drink in the bar without having any restrictions and all that, right? Okay, but you are trying to tell the person the place to live and all of that, but you are trying to impose exactly those rights and those formula and all those things to someone who actually don't have a washroom at the home, the place that he can use a bathroom to relieve himself. You understand? You
yeah,
understand?
I really get your point that the human rights we are discussing today, they are addressing the countries that they don't have those kind of infrastructures
and problems that we are facing,
and we don't have the common problems. You're right. We have no common issues, similarities. We are very different.
So I think regarding Africa in general, I think a majority of people in our countries, after being colonized, we have left with a certain things that guide our moral compass. And the things that guide our moral compass, right, that's what is addressing of the human right. People use their moral compass to guide and say this and this and this and this should be done for humanity, right? I think we need to get away from all these distractions that we have and actually follow these moral compass based on our faith base. Everybody know that we as human are judged by our Creator based on our circumstances and what the choices we make on our circumstances. Everybody knows, okay, you are given a test and you choose whether to be grateful or be ungrateful to Creator. All of this is being taught to us in all these three books that we believe in. In Islam, we have the same teachings. In Christianity, we have the same teachings. Even in Jews, there is possibly obviously there's a difference here and there, but the chronological order of what happened, what we were taught, what is right, what is wrong, has been taught to us. This could be a very good starting point for ourselves to remove ourselves from these distractions that are facing us, because there's so many things that actually impressed or enforced toward us to do that do not agree with our culture. Absolutely makes absolutely no sense to our culture.
When you talk that there are a lot of issues when we come on the discussion of human rights are not compatible to our traditions and cultures in Africa, what exactly do you mean? Can you give us one example of the culture you're talking about? I understand you talk about the region that, you know, when these colonies came to colonize Africa, they came in the back of a region. So most of African countries, we are brought up on the foundation of the two strong religions, Christianity and Muslim. And these Christianity and Muslim created the cultural grounds and formed certain kind of traditions, which most African countries are following today. So when you talk about human rights, most of the human rights we are discussing today, they are not aligning with our background culture we are having or we are experiencing today. So is that what you want to mean?
No, they're not even aligning with religions.
Oh.
They are not even aligning with the religion's culture.
Oh.
Not aligning with their culture. They are also not aligning with the religions.
So you mean something is wrong there?
Yes. Yes, there's something is wrong,
Okay.
right? There's something definitely very wrong, right? We are very confused and confounded. And it's not...
Okay, when you say that most of the human rights are not aligning with the background of African countries, which its foundations is from the cultural perspective of these strong institutions, strong institution of a region, and most of the stronger region in Africa is Muslims and Christianity. So can you give us an example? What kind of human right does not align with Christianity or Muslim religion? That becomes a barrier when we talk about advancement of African countries.
Okay, so...
Yeah, I know it's very difficult. Like
I am going to say it,
yes,
but I'm going to...
No, we need to speak it out. Like last week we had a show here. This show was talking about the gender of LGBT issues. But I had to give a stand according to my perspective and how I see things. And then I mentioned it that when you address the LGBT, it's not an issue of human rights in my country because my country does not accept it.
So that is one of example of a human right that we are talking about.
Yes.
Okay.
I agree.
Most of Africans agree, right? This is there. There are some people, men, that are attracted to another man.
Yes.
And there is a women that are attracted to another women.
Yeah, so
Whatever
but I
reason
understand
it is,
what...
for whatever
yeah.
reason it is, that is there. But again, as I'm talking as a human, every one of us have a right to choose to do whatever they wish to do, and God, the Creator, is their judge.
So the main point here is that
why do you want us, as the whole country, to agree
with what they want us to agree?
To accept that a man and man can be married in my country, and the country actually accept it, and actually even threat to sanction me if I don't agree it, in the country that is very faith-based, is very culture-based, is very principle-based, right? The moral ethical of majority of people in that country do not agree with it, right? And then how could you force the country president to impose that on people and say that this is a part of the human right? How can that human right apply in Tanzania, in Kenya, in Uganda, in Nigeria, right? As a human right is the last thing.
But you know what? People have to understand, African countries have to understand, what is called human rights in the Western countries today has been a process. These people went through a very long process to create those issues which they call them today human rights. So here what we are talking for African countries, we have to stand as African together and agree that we need to build our own culture. We need to build our own laws and regulations to our own, which will really align with our traditions and culture. But before we go there, we need to speak about what Africans need. We need infrastructure. We need strong education systems. We need strong health system. We need strong network among African countries. This is what we should discuss today. We need a strong market as African countries. Let us not allow these other distractions. Is this what, Bohari, you want to tell the African countries today?
Yes, and I think all of this can be addressed with an African constitution, because African constitution can address African human right. African constitution can address African health. African constitution can address African education. African constitution can address African economy. African constitution can address African culture. African constitution can address African negotiation power. African constitution can address everything. We don't have to unite and make it as one country. But if all African countries follow this specific constitution and leading ourselves using this constitution that was created by us, for us, I think that will be the best solution. I think that will be the best start.
I really like that ending. I like that ending, that we need, as African countries, to create a form of constitution which will be for us and which is going to address African needs and problems. We don't need people to tell us what our problems are. It's we Africans know what we need. Now, eyes up, Africans. We are calling to our leaders to understand what Africa needs. When we talk about globalization, we are not ready if we cannot talk about Africanization. Thank you so much. Thank you for all our viewers. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share all our social media so that people in Africa, people in the West, people in the East understands what Africa needs. Bori, I think our time is really running up very fast and we still have a lot to talk, but we are going to meet again next week on Wednesday, 1 p.m. Canadian time. Can you say bye-bye to our viewers who have been watching us for the last 1 hour?
Guys, bye for today, right? I'll see you guys next Wednesday. I hope whatever that I say, the only intention is stimulate the thinking, introduce the conversation, have some form of interaction, open at least our eyes for those who have slept. But we need to stop the distraction and start blaming each other, blaming people for what they have done to us, blaming Western world, blaming Mabeberu, blaming our leaders for corruptions, blaming. We need to stop blaming, and we need to start talking about the solutions that actually they will be helpful for us. We have a very, very rich continent. We have extremely big land. I don't know if many people knows that the diameter or the square meter area of African land is not similar in relation to what is being written, what is being drawn in a world map. We are much bigger than that. I don't know if people knows that, right? But there must be a reason for it, Kini Macho, whatever the reason it is, right? But we have a population, about 1.4 billion, that we can use most of our resources. We have the education, we have the intelligent people, we have experts, and even if we don't have an expert, we can hire them. We don't have to negotiate and them come in and mine in our country. We can mine ourselves and hire them as engineers or consultant.
I like that. Thank you so much. Time is too short for us, but viewers, thank you for watching us. Thank you, Christina, for joining. I hope you go back to your YouTube and listen what we have been talking about. This is a great topic for African people, for African countries, and for my sweet people, Tanzanians. Thank you so much and have a great night for African countries and good afternoon for Canadian. Thank you.